Welcome back, everyone, to another Company Fears 2 replay cast. This time, we're going to have a lovely 2v2 sent in by Psycho, and it's a first. He did not used to send replays, but he did. In case you do not know who this man is, he is effectively the person behind my Discord server, so thank you. If you do not know about my Discord server, links in the description. He is playing as the Americans, USF, on Rails and Metal. His friend Matiza is also playing as the USF, and they are facing off against Blue Ure, controlling the Wehrmacht over here in the South Spawn, and another Wehrmacht player, Nameless Ring, in the Northwest Spawn for the Axis. So, obviously, Rails and Metal is quite the classic for 2v2, and so I am pretty much anticipating a nice little match. Now, he has told me that he is quite a beginner, so yeah. Anyway, it seems like some people have already actually picked doctrines. You have the new Armored Company and the Mechanized Company also changed in the last patch for Company Fears 2. New changes for these two mean that, actually no, the Armored Company hasn't been changed. It was the other one that was changed for the Americans. Yeah, the new Mechanized Company means that there's some new toys that Matiza can play around with, such as the Cavalry Rifleman, and the Combined Arms, and of course, the new way in which you get the Mechanized groups. Earlier on it was a call-off, and now it's a barracks, deployment, so the military truck and the half-track, which requires you to upgrade a couple of things. And yeah, we're going to see how he can use these. We already have a military truck coming through, and yeah, I mean, this is going to be a nice little unit to harass around, especially with these MG42s, which right now are being used to good effect by Nameless Ring, suppressing these riflemen and the rear echelon troops and securing the western side of the map for the Nazis. We have the military truck coming in and upgrading the machine gun. However, he is moving right into the arc of fire, picking up the rifleman, and that caught the MG into a moment of repositioning. And so, yeah, this is gonna be real bad for this MG42. Luckily, it was actually the setting up the crew gun, so it managed to run away faster than the rifleman could kill it. And now we have the military truck bringing that MG. Second MG coming in for the Germans, but if the military truck can turn around and actually flank this guy from the side over here, from the left, it's going to be real good and real bad for the Germans. Grenadiers with the Panzerfaust, are they close enough? No, they're not, and they're not even trying to get in close. Nicely getting out those riflemen so that they can use all of the rifles, because once they're behind in the rear, not sure what to call it, in the rear van of the truck, you only use 4 rifles and they fire at decreased effectiveness, whereas obviously when you're dismounted you have 5 rifles and they fire at full effectiveness. So left side of the map has been reclaimed by the Allies. Bit of a fail with volley fire over here. However, the right side of the map, because Matiza, the right side player for the Americans, has been focused so heavily on the left, the right side has been neglected, and so it seems like the Germans are going to have to fortify up on this side of the map and try to use the fuel that they gain from here rather than contesting the left-hand side, at least for a little bit, before they can get back into this game. Because it seems like right now, Nameless Ring has been very heavily hit by the last fighting on the left side. So he is trying to recrew all of his guns, he has reinforced all of his units, and he's trying to get back onto the field. But in the meantime, his ally is trying to hold the fort. Not exactly very successfully, though, as one of his pioneers seems to be already dying from the assault of the WC-51. One of the MGs is already forced away. The second MG is trying to hold in this house, obviously the rush house for the Rails of Metal that everyone is going to be contesting for. The riflemen, though, managed to get quite a lot of cover over here, and so just the sheer amount of firepower that is being poured into this building might be enough. The mortar over here is trying to support the machine gun by plopping rounds down onto the riflemen, but the riflemen smartly decide to, you know, reposition and avoid the worst of the damage, and yeah, so the machine gun runs, and that is going to open the door for a big American reclaiming of the right side. At the same time, the Germans are coming back on the left. We seem to have... okay, so Psycho decided to get a lieutenant over here, and he's getting out a 50 caliber machine gun from the lieutenant here. Not the worst idea ever, but to be honest, I don't really see what this is going to do against what the Germans are bringing. If I was him, I would have focused more heavily on getting out a flak half-track. Because, well, I mean, he doesn't have the fuel yet, so right, he cannot really do that. Because right now what he needs is something to beat these MGs relatively consistently. So perhaps actually the best choice would be a mortar team, or a couple mortar teams, because if the Germans are relying so heavily on MGs and Grenadiers, then 2 mortars would really wreck those quite good. That's obviously contingent on the mortars actually doing their job, which is not always the case. Cavalry riflemen, they're coming in, and he's trying to upgrade them off with the Thompsons. Obviously right now only with the grease guns, but the cavalry riflemen are pretty nasty because of the anti-vehicle satchel charge and the ability to use smoke, which is quite amazing. The smoke grenade is not something that a lot of American units have available to them now that the riflemen are, you know, are denied access to that. So yeah, it's going to be really, really important. Psycho's moving up, but he's making the mistake of putting all of his guys into this building over here, which is making them an easy target for the Flammenwerfer. And as you can see, it's just doing absolutely nasty amounts of damage, even wiping out the MG. So the 50 caliber machine gun already killed, and the Pioneer is getting vet 2 out of that, predictably. So yeah, you need to absolutely, if you're going to be putting units in buildings, only put 1 or 2, because when flamethrowers hit buildings, they get, like, really nasty bonus damage. And on top of that, they damage all of the units, like, quite equally. It doesn't really matter. The targeting is just really good. Whereas explosive weapons like mortars rely upon the positioning of the models in the building. The flamethrower just doesn't really care. So it's just really good to clear out buildings. In the south, Matisa is trying to move forward onto the sort of German base area, but he's being pushed back because of all these flanking maneuvers. However, there's a lot of riflemen, so it's not going to be anything permanent, any gains that the Germans make. The Germans, importantly enough, are starting to upgrade their units with different weapons. We have some G43s from Nameless Ring because he's gone Lightning War, so that means the Tiger is a possibility later on. And a couple of MG42s from Blue Uray, but this unit is going to be wiped out by the Riflemen, most likely. So that's pretty bad. Yep, well done. Actually, Psycho went for the captain as well as the lieutenant. So yeah, he might go for that A half-track after all. He's even gotten the upgrade over here. Might, you know, might want the Stuart. The Stuart, which has been built by Matisa. One big problem for the Germans is that they're lacking AT, just like almost entirely. They do have a few Panzerfausts, but that's just not going to be enough. They haven't made really the transition from the Tier 1 and Tier 0 units to anything else. We still only see Grenadiers, machine gun mortars for this man, and Grenadiers, Pioneers, machine guns for this man. So yeah, while as you can see the Allies have been mixing in, you know, Tier 1, Tier 2, and especially the great doctrinal units. we haven't really seen that for the Germans, and that's about to hit them full head-on in the face as the Stuart and all the vehicles really start to come into play. Has there been a pack howitzer purchase? No, but if there was, that would have been even more nasty for the Germans to deal with, because they don't really seem to have that much indirect fire. They only have one mortar, and they are relying quite a bit, again, on those MG42s, even though they've just lost one. So yeah, the pack howitzer would be an amazing pick right now for the Allies, which, you know, it also makes this M21 mortar half-track quite useful. Quite useful. Stuart moving in, and yeah, actually one counter that the Germans could go for is the Puma, and in fact Blue Ure was relying upon this. I still wouldn't really put that much faith on a Puma as opposed to just a Pack 40, because, you know, the Pack 40's firepower is much superior, and in the later game you're gonna need it. But in the early to mid game, the Puma is gonna be definitely good enough to deal with American light vehicles. So yes, I do enjoy that pick. In fact, it seems like Matisse is going for a second Stuart, which is, ooh, that's perhaps a little ballsy, a little arrogant, in fact. Seeing that the Germans don't really have that many sort of anti-tank guns or anything like that, he is deciding that he wants to go for just the all-out mid-game strategy. But I'm not sure. That would probably not be the best idea ever. Same thing for the AA half-track at this point in the game. At 11 minutes, Psycho went for the AA half-track and a utility car. Now, the utility car I can maybe understand because of the M6 anti-tank mine, which is really, really powerful. But the AA half-track at this point in the game is not going to be that useful, especially because you can get some 50 caliber machine guns anyway, and you know, have a suppression platform regardless. So yeah, I really don't understand why he also went for the AA, but yeah, the Puma is going to need to watch out for these bazookas, as you can see. And it was, like, the M20 car over here was really lucky because the Puma missed all those shots. So yeah, the Puma not really putting a great name for itself. Also getting really close to those riflemen with the anti-tank grenades, so perhaps not the best, crispest micro you can see. Right now, we do see that the M20 utility car is helping the American riflemen and cavalry riflemen push forward, but this machine gun is going to stop this push dead in its tracks, so the infantry is going to have to run away. However, the utility car is going to be useful enough to destroy the recruit MG42 over here, giving the left side engagement to the Americans most likely. However, there is a vehicle approaching, and it is on Ostwind, so no real danger to the utility car if it uses the smoke, but surprise, here comes the Grenadier, getting the Panzerfaust off at the correct time, along with some armor-piercing fire incendiary rounds from the MG42. So it looks like the American advance on the left-hand side is going to be reversed completely by the Ostwind's arrival. However, the Germans are bleeding VPs like a stuffed pig. They're down to 330 because they are right now being triple drained by the Americans. Have all 3 VPs. Second Stuart is coming in. The first one just got Panzerfausted by the Grenadiers, and right now it's taking fire from the Ostwind, but the Ostwind is not really penetrating all that much, and the second Stuart manages to arrive in time. First one activates the shell shock ability, giving some vision block to the Ostwind. And so the second Stuart's arrival in time is going to be enough to sort of force the Germans back and give the Allies the engagement on the left. In the center, we have a bit of a draw as both forces seem to have kind of left the field. M20 utility car has left the bazooka core, has left, you know, not just its corpse, but also the bazooka over here on the road. So this is going to be a relatively easy pickup for the Nazis to bolster their anti-tank capabilities, but crucially, most of the VPs, except for the right side, which, again, it's only just one infantry unit, so it's mostly just a question of the Americans leaving rather than the Germans capturing. These VPs have been held by the Americans, so right now the bleed is continuing, and the Germans are down to 280. If the Allies can get those 3 VPs back under their control, then you know, the VP drain is going to be fast enough that you're going to have essentially 4.5 minutes of time left for the Germans, if there's a new triple cap by the Americans. So it's actually pretty bad. And there's a third Stuart by Mutiza. What the hell? That's definitely overbearing and overreaching, because now the Germans are getting some AT. So we have a pack from Nameless Ring, and 2 of them from Blue U-Ray. So the anti-tank power of the Germans has just increased massively from the last engagement. And while in the last engagement the 2 Stuarts were, you know, just enough, right now they're going to be dramatically outmatched by this anti-tank force of the Germans. So right now they're going to be trying to make the push happen. The Stuart is taking heavy damage, the Veterancy one. Luckily, the pack misses. The bazookas combined with the Stuarts managed to take out the Puma. One of the Stuarts goes down from the pack fire. Thankfully for the Americans, the riflemen have been able to just absolutely obliterate the German troops by flanking. So this is very, very good. The other 2 riflemen in the rear echelon troops are trying to push towards the center, and that's, you know, not succeeding, but it's busying this German force, allowing for the other Allied troops to capture these team weapons and for the American vehicles to retreat and repair. So that's a bit of an American victory overall. But on the left side, this has left Psycho on his own against the Ostwind and all the rest of the German army. And so that has led to the capture of the left-hand side. Psycho has built an anti-tank gun, a 57mm, but it was a little bit too late, and it's still sitting in the base. With 600 manpower in the bank, in hindsight, that's definitely something that could have been changed a little bit earlier. Looks like he was kind of relying upon a couple of mines, although those haven't really done much. Mines laid most likely by these assault engineers. So yeah, overall I'd say that, yeah, here comes the Major actually. Overall, I'd say that while the Allies have come off relatively well on the right side, this engagement was definitely a German victory. For the main reason of just, like, you know, kind of showing the Allies that they can retake the initiative, because this was a big, you know, German push on the left that was successful, so it's definitely going to be good for their own kind of morale as well. And also because it's going to allow the Germans, you know, a new route of advance into the center and right. The route that right now is being utilized by Nameless Ring, who's trying to push in. Of course, this is not going to work because of the disparity of forces, and because the anti-tank gun has reached over here, and in fact the Ostwind is going to be destroyed in this. That's definitely not good. Right now, the teching situation, we have that Mutiza's just spamming out Stuarts from his tier 2. He hasn't even gone for tier 3, actually. He hasn't even gone for that captain. So, yeah, that's really, really nasty. That means that he's going to be very, very much behind, you know, in progression. So, yeah, well, right now he's really, really powerful. He is kind of gambling out all in that he can win in the next, like, 10 minutes or so, or 5, more like 5-10 minutes, and that is never probably the best idea to do. Instead, Psycho has gone for a more forward-thinking, long-term strategy of going for the Major, and that means that he can get, of course, the Bulldozer Sherman from his Doctrine, as well as the M10 from his Doctrine and the Battalion Command Post, and the Sherman. If I was in his position right now, considering that his opponent has just lost, you know, the Ostwind, and I'm facing quite a bit of infantry, I'd go for the Sherman. Of course, I'd be partially wrong. Actually, yeah, he did go for the Sherman. Of course, I'd be partially wrong because the P4 is here, and the P4 is going to slightly beat the Sherman, but still, the Sherman is not going to just, you know, oh wow, big push on the right. Sherman's not just gonna, you know, sit down and take it from the Panzer IV. It can kind of stand up to it. While it's going to lose overall, it can still do quite a bit. And it's especially going to be really, really good against the infantry. In the right side, it seems like the Germans are just not able to push in. However, the Stuart is being very, very aggressive. There's a 4th one on the field. So the Stuart Horde is continuing, while the Panzer IV has reached the field in the center. Let's see what the Allies do in response to this, because there's still the anti-tank gun over here. But actually, oh, it's not using prioritized vehicles. Definitely using prioritized vehicles right now would be quite important. The Stuart over here decides to charge the Panzer IV on its own. There's a few of its friends moving in, but one of them isn't even fully repaired. This one is going to die before it can do really anything useful. Maybe engine shot right now, but no, he wasn't able to get the engine shot in early enough. However, the other tiny Stuarts are trying to charge in. Here comes a shell shot from the first Stuart. We have 400 munitions from Matisa, so he can definitely spam out those abilities for the Stuarts, and I think that that's going to be the end of the Panzer IV. Come on, get out some shell shock, man. Okay, he was actually able to get that in time. However, all of the Stuarts are going to die because of this, most likely. I don't see them getting out. There's a Pack 40 over here. There's a lot of Panzerfausts, so all the engine damage in the world is going to be dealt to these guys. And yeah, it looks like the A half-track is also kind of in trouble. It dies to the Pack 40. First Stuart of the bunch goes down, or actually third Stuart of the bunch goes down, and the fourth one as well. So the entire American armored force has been annihilated, except for the Sherman, while the Germans just lost a single Panzer IV, and they've also been able to put a bit of a dent onto the Allied control of the right side, neutralizing the right side VP, which means that right now the VP situation is back to equal, although that's about to be reversed. So, overall, the victors of the engagement are definitely the Germans, as right now they're replacing their lost vehicles with a Panther, although actually it's not Nameless Ring, it's Blue Uray. So what was Blue Uray doing all this time? Probably just saving up for the Panther. So they're about to get a Panther, while their enemies lost 4 Stuarts, which if I'm not mistaken is going to be 280 fuel, as opposed to 125 that the Panzer IV costs right now? No, 120. So, as you can see, that's basically double the fuel. In fact, even more. So, that's obviously quite the big win for the Nazis. They've also been able to neutralize and capture the left side fuel point. So, that's neutralizing the Allied fuel income, although, interestingly enough, the Allied fuel income is equal to the Germans. Why is that? That's all on strategic points. Interesting. Well, when they connect this point, it's not going to be, it's not going to be equal anymore, but that's never going to happen. Oh well, anyway, so the Allied fuel income has been curtailed, and the Germans have managed to get a big fuel lead in terms of fielded units. There goes a mortar half-track, which is also like 30 fuel, right? It's pretty nasty. 2 mortar half-tracks go down. That's 60 more fuel. So 300 fuel lost by Matisa in just, just under 2 minutes, essentially. While his fuel income right now gives him 20 fuel a minute. So to get back at those losses, he's gonna need 15 minutes, right? He's gonna need 15 minutes. So 15 minutes of fuel lost in 2 minutes, essentially. That's really, really bad. Really, really heavy losses. Although he still has his infantry corps, so that is relatively important actually, because right now one of the bigger problems for the Germans is the VP situation. So if the VP situation can lead to an Allied victory, then it doesn't matter how much fuel you lose. He tries to get the wipe, but he can't. That's very unfortunate. Looks like there is a bulldozer Sherman for Psycho. Wait, where did the Sherman go? The normal one. What? What the hell? And there we go. Bulldozer Sherman. So in case you missed that, the Pack 40 killed the bulldozer, which was a big, big micro mistake. But in dying, in going out of control, the bulldozer bulldozed the shack where there was an MG for Psycho, so he's lost both the bulldozer and the MG. So the Nazis are going to be coming in with a Panzer IV medium tank and a Panther, while the Allies have absolutely nothing in the way of armor, and they don't really have that much in terms of AT either. the infantry situation is looking a lot better for the Germans right now, because while Matisa still has some of his infantry corps, you know, in terms of the veterancy of the units, the Germans both have good infantry veterancy. Psycho has lost most of his troops, so he's basically out. And especially the Germans have more upgrades on their units, so the infantry advantage is by far in the Germans' hands. The pop cap advantage is definitely in the favor of the Germans as well, with 67 versus, oh boy, 76 plus 146, so, you know, 70 more, that's basically double. And the quality advantage is in the field of the Germans, because they've got more veterancy and they've got more advanced units. So, and they're about to take the VP advantage as well as they capture the center. Obviously, because of all of these advantages and the amount of forces that are in the field, it doesn't really seem like the Allies can really maintain map control, so resources and VPs are going to be in the favor of the Germans in the foreseeable future. And even more Panzer IVs are coming out. This one is a command tank. So that's definitely going to be victory for the Germans, as you can see by the timer. Wow, that was quick. That was a really quick reversal. And it all stems from the fact that, again, Matisa, by going all out on those Stuarts, he focused very hard on that sort of mid-game heavy strategy, right? Which did not pay off because he was not able to win in the 5 to 10 minutes time frame that I set out. And so after that time frame's over, you know, there's Panzer IVs, there's lots of AT guns, there's lots of veteran grenadiers that can Panzerfaust you to oblivion. There's, you know, probably more mines, Panzerschrecks, you know, all the kind of stuff that Stuarts do not like, that light vehicles do not like. So that's always kind of the problem with focusing so heavily on light vehicles, is that while it's very cost effective in the mid game, once you get to that late game point, especially if you kind of fail on the micro side of things, which Matisa definitely did, because he pushed in all those Stuarts way too hard, chasing down that one Panzer IV. He was able to kill it, but once your opponent has reached Panzer IVs, you know, which is not really like even that advanced, you know, it's just tier 3 for the Nazis. Once you reach that stage, you can pump on Panzer IVs however much you want. They're relatively cheap, 120 fuel. But if you're going to be losing Stuarts over that, and Stuarts are the only thing that you can get, you know, at tier 1, or tier 1.5 because of the mechanized platoon command post requirement, then, you know, you're in a very bad position, because if you want to catch up after that, you not only have to do so from a position where you have invested a lot of your fuel in early to mid game units, right? And if those have died, then that fuel is just gone. In fact, there's that much fuel, you know, 70 fuel on the Stuart as opposed to 120 on the Panzer IV. So even on the cost effectiveness scale, that's low. You also have to climb more, you know, more steps to get to the high tiers, because as Americans, you don't really get decent tanks until you'll get tier 4, or at least decent anti-tank capabilities in terms of the Jackson, right? So you are very, very heavily behind. And even if he hadn't wasted those Stuarts in that mad rush, you know, he would have lost anyway, like because of just the disparity in terms of the technical strategies. The Germans would have just shot ahead anyway, because Psycho has lost a lot of his units, sure, in that like engagement over here. I'm not sure, again, how he's lost to Sherman. Still don't really know, but he at least was headed for the late game. His friend, though, wasn't, and so, you know, even with the best micro in the world, Psycho by himself would have been outmatched, and Matisa himself would have been outmatched. So yeah, by not winning in those 5 to 10 minutes, Matisa's strategy effectively just fell apart completely. But oh well, that was a pretty good game. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed, and I hope that I'll join you again, and that I'll see you soon.